Hello and welcome to this edition of our special series, World at War. I'm your host, Mohammed Saleh. When Rome burnt, the Roman Emperor Nero is said to have fiddled. Is Washington doing the same while Ukraine burns? As the Russian onslaught pulverizes cities and breaks the spirited resistance by the Ukrainian people, the West is still mulling and calculating on its response. Now, the West wants to defeat Russia, but it wants to do so without getting directly involved. Western sanctions show no signs of slowing down the Russian war machine. Russia is now said to be on the verge of taking the city of Severodonetsk. Ukraine needs heavy artillery because in this moment, this war in Ukraine is about artillery warfare. According to Vadim Skibitsky, the deputy head of the Ukrainian military intelligence, Russia has anywhere from 10 to 15 pieces of artillery on the war front for every heavy gun that Ukraine can field. Much of the fighting is taking place in the Donbas region for the control of the Donetsk and Luhansk provinces. These are the industrial heartland of Ukraine. While the world continues to be riveted by the war in Ukraine, there are other conflicts, big and small, that are lighting fires across the globe. Turkey has warned Greece to demilitarize the islands in the Aegean Sea. It has accused Greece of violating treaties on basis of which the Aegean islands were ceded. The Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has stressed that he is not joking. Now, for its part, though, Greece claims that Erdogan is deliberately misinterpreting the treaties regarding the Aegean islands. On the 1st of June, hundreds of students clashed with the police in Chile's capital, Santiago, as they protested against the government demanding for better public schools and also subsidies in the country. The police resorted to firing water jets from armored trucks to chase the demonstrators away. Tensions in Congo are on the rise as the M23 rebel group has unleashed a wave of attacks in the conflict-torn North Kivu province. The Democratic Republic of Congo has accused Rwanda of backing the rebels. Now, hundreds of people in the Democratic Republic of Congo staged a protest against Rwanda for fomenting violence in the country. When we talk of war, most people think of aggression by a foreign power. But some nations don't need a foreign power to unravel. They go to war within themselves. In our cover story today, we take you to Pakistan, which yet again seems to be hurtling towards chaos. Is Imran Khan, once a national hero for his brilliance on the cricketing pitch, and now a deposed Prime Minister, right when he predicts that if his country's deep state does not take the right decisions, then Pakistan will go bankrupt. Pakistan's army will be destroyed. Pakistan will plunge into a civil war, and Pakistan will be broken up into three pieces and its nuclear arsenal taken away by foreign powers. Those familiar with mythology will recall the figure of Cassandra, a Trojan priestess who was cursed to utter prophecies of doom that were never believed but always came true. Has Imran Khan become the Cassandra Khan of Pakistan? So let's hear what Imran Khan actually did say.
Establishment का मसला है. अगर इस वक्त establishment सही फैसले नहीं करेगी, मैं आपको राइटिंग में देता हूं कि ये भी तबाह होंगे, फौज सबसे पहले तबाह होगी, क्योंकि मुल्क बैंकरप्ट होगा. किधर जाएगा मुल्क? मैं आपको सीक्वेंस बता देता हूं ना. ये जब से आए हैं, रुपया गिर रहा है, स्टॉक मार्केट, चीज़ें महंगी, डिफ़ॉल्ट की तरफ जा रहा है पाकिस्तान. अगर हम डिफ़ॉल्ट कर जाते हैं, इसका मतलब पाकिस्तान बैंकरप्सी की जाता. सबसे बड़ा इदारा कौन सा है जो हिट होगा? पाकिस्तानी फ़ौज. जब फ़ौज हिट होगी तो जो उसके बाद हमारे से कंसेशन क्या ली जाएगी जो यूक्रेन से उन्होंने ली थी डीन्यूक्लियराइज करने की. सबसे बड़ा तो मसला उनको, हमारी वाहिद मुसलमान मुल्क है जिसके पास न्यूक्लियर डिटरेंट है. जब वो चला गया फिर क्या होगा? मैं आपको आज कहता हूँ पाकिस्तान के तीन हिस्से होंगे.
Has loss of power unhinged Imran Khan? Imran Khan certainly cannot hide his anguish at having been thrown out of office in a democratic coup. He has repeatedly alleged that foreign powers led by America unseated him. He has lampooned the present Shahbaz Sharif government as an imported government that was imposed on the people of Pakistan by the United States. He's further said, because the present government is an imposed one by the United States, there is no possibility of a popularly elected government taking office in Islamabad.
ये जो बोतल से जिन निकला है ना, अब ये वापस नहीं जाने लगा. अब ये कैसे अपने पहुंचेगा, ये अब हमने देखना है कि हमें ये क्या, हमें आईनी तौर पे हमें उस तरफ जाने देंगे या नहीं. नहीं तो फिर देखें, ये तो मुल्क खाना जंगी की तरफ निकल जाएगा. अगर आप आईनी दरवाजे बंद कर देंगे तो ये एक्सेप्ट तो करना नहीं है कौम ने इनको.
So is Pakistan heading towards a civil war? Will Pakistan really rupture into three pieces? Will Pakistan have its nuclear weapons taken away? And if so, who'd want to take away the nuclear arsenal of a ruptured and a diminished Pakistan? Partition is not new to the subcontinent. After all, Pakistan came into existence because of a partition of undivided India in 1947.
Punjab, Bengal and Assam, if so desired.
In 1971, Pakistan underwent another partition because leaders led by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and Yahya Khan in West Pakistan were not willing to cede power to Sheikh Mujibur Rahman of East Pakistan, who had won the elections in 1970 fair and square. It is this power struggle which quickly escalated into a civil war back then. So is Pakistan staring at the possibility of an imminent civil war in 2022? Let's take a look at some of the fracture points in Pakistan's polity. In case Pakistan crumbles, as Imran Khan predicts it would splinter not in 3 but in 4 pieces. And this is what the new map of South Asia will look like. Balochistan, which happens to be Pakistan's largest but its poorest province, will be the first to break away. The Baloch Liberation Army has waged a deadly insurgency for independence. In the last 2 decades, the Baloch Liberation Army has staged a wave of bombings. The most recent one being at the Karachi University Bashari Baloch, which specifically targeted Chinese nationals. Balochistan could of course emerge as a new nation with Quetta as its capital. The Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan has already pledged its allegiance to Kabul. If Pakistan's power centre were to wobble, the Tehreek-e-Taliban with its support base in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa could secede. A new independent emirate of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa could come into existence with Peshawar as its capital. The province of Sindh, throughout its history in Pakistan, has chafed under the yoke of Punjab. The Punjabi stranglehold on the institutions of state power has been an eternal grouse. Sindh too would be only too happy to throw off the Punjabi yoke and emerge as a new nation with Karachi as its capital. And present-day Pakistan would be diminished to the province of Punjab with Islamabad as its capital. If this were to happen, then Pakistan is certain to lose its nuclear arsenal. Pakistan has an estimated stockpile of about 140 nuclear warheads, which it stores in at least 10 different locations. On the basis of data that has been collected through satellite imagery, these sites have been zeroed down upon by a bunch of American scientists led by Hans Christensen of Nuclear Information Project. Pakistan has reportedly converted its F-16 fighter jets for use to deliver nuclear warheads, along with the French-produced Mirage aircrafts, which have also been modified for nuclear use. There are a total of 4 air bases in Pakistan from where it can launch nuclear-capable fighter jets. But Pakistan's primary means of delivering nuclear weapons is through cruise and ballistic missile systems. And these are spread across 6 garrisons, such as the Akro garrison, the Khuzdar garrison, the Pano garrison, the Bahawalpur garrison, the Sargodha garrison, and the Gujranwala garrison. So if Pakistan self-destructs, then the Americans will make it conditional on the new successor states to give up their nuclear arsenal for international recognition. For the Pakistanis, this is the worst of all possibilities to be confronted with. But this is precisely what Imran Cassandra Khan is predicting for Pakistan. A peaceful transfer of power is what makes for stable and successful democracies. But Pakistan, with its meddling generals and opportunistic politicians, has struggled to effect peaceful transfers of power. Elections in Pakistan are not due again till August 2023. But from the day that Imran Khan has been ousted, Pakistan has been paralyzed by street protests and political violence. Pakistan is poised at a delicate moment. A little slip here could plunge the country into full-scale civil war. Imran Khan is playing a dangerous game of brinkmanship. He thinks with the public backing him, he's got things under his control. But the fact is, so did Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and Yahya Khan back in 1970. Imran Khan nurses the ambition to rule over the whole of Pakistan from Islamabad. But to achieve this, he's putting the future existence of the Pakistani state on the line. Our next segment is known as Point and Counterpoint. We speak to two guests from two opposite sides of the spectrum to try and find out what their views are on Imran Khan's startling predictions for Pakistan. So to give us the two perspectives, we're joined in by Mr. Abdul Samad Yaqub, who's a spokesperson of the PTI, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the party of Imran Khan, and he joins us from Islamabad. And we're also joined in by Dr. Ishtiaq Ahmed, who's a Professor Emeritus of Political Science, and is joining us from Stockholm University. Now, Mr. Samad Yaqub, let me begin with you first. As a PTI spokesperson, I presume you'd perhaps be able to better tell us what is going through Imran Khan's mind. Why did he make this prediction?
Well, that was, you have to see the context. In what context Chairman Imran Khan has stated that. It was, he was talking about the scenario that if the Pakistan it's went to default. So in that case, in that context, that if a country is going to be defaulted, so in that context, yes, it is true that one can say that he's telling the scenario. So, and by the way, in past we have. We were turned into two pieces. The Bangladesh got freedom. So even after that, he has stated multiple things, which was like when the country goes to default, what happened the next. So that was all about.
Now, Dr. Ahmed, let me bring you in on this. You've watched the politics of Pakistan very closely for so many decades. Do you think the way things are unfolding in Pakistan at this point of time, is it likely that things that Imran Khan is predicting for Pakistan, can they come true?
I think he's desperate to convince the Pakistani people that without him, there are grand conspiracies being hatched against Pakistan, and he's the man of destiny who alone can save Pakistan from such a doomsday scenario. So his own loss of power for him is something he's unable to accept. And he conflates this with a possible ill fortune of Pakistan, such as it splitting into three and Pakistan's nuclear assets being taken by its enemies. So maybe in his mind, there are people who get into a psychological state where they start believing that the world rests on their shoulders. And I'm not surprised that Imran Khan has sort of ended up in that situation. But if you look at the objective situation in Pakistan, I very much doubt if the predictions he's making are really serious and something which can happen.
Mr. Samad Yaqub, the biggest challenge for Pakistan is its economy. Things have gone really from bad to worse. How real is the possibility that Pakistan could find itself in the kind of financial mess that Sri Lanka presently is in?
Although I believe that we are not going to be defaulted the way Sri Lanka, is going through. But the fact of the matter is, economy is the real challenge. We cannot deny it. We cannot deny this fact that the real challenge for us is the economy. the forex rate, the pressure on the dollar, and the circular debt, which is over 2.5 trillion rupees. So this is actually the challenge. I mean, and the current government using delaying tactics, not taking any bold decisions or tough decisions because they do not have mandate from the public or the confidence from the public. That's why we are demanding that we must go for the fresh election. So any government, any incoming government must have the real mandate of the people of the Pakistan. Then they will be able to take the bold decisions.
Dr. Ahmed, some would say that politically, the situation in Pakistan right now is similar to what happened in 1970. Imran Khan was ousted from power fair and square. Some would say it's a constitutional coup, a democratic coup, but still it was done through the process that is there in the Pakistani constitution. And yet he does not want to accept the fact that he's no longer the prime minister. Do you think Imran Khan is making the same mistake that Zulfikar Ali Bhutto did back in 1970, which resulted in a civil war in Pakistan, eventually leading to the partition of Pakistan into Pakistan and Bangladesh?
I think the analogy with the events in the former East Pakistan, which became Bangladesh, needs to be put in perspective. First of all, when the crisis took place in East Pakistan and the civil war broke out, immediately Pakistan's ability to exercise its authority and power through the armed forces stationed in East Pakistan became very much curtailed. New supplies could not be sent. The armed forces could not be replenished with more troops sent to East Pakistan. So those who were there had to fight the war and they lost it. That doesn't seem to be the case in Pakistan unless the Pakistan army itself were to split into 2 or 3 and start fighting one another. I think the Pakistan military is strong enough to quell any such threat from within.
All right, gentlemen, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you to both Dr. Ishtiaq Ahmed and to Mr. Samad Yaqub for speaking to us here on WION. On the 5th of June, at a time when worshippers had gathered at the St. Francis Catholic Church in the old town in Nigeria, a group of gunmen opened fire. According to reports, at least about 50 people were killed in this gruesome massacre. But who were these gunmen? And why were these worshippers who were at the church to mark the Pentecost Sunday targeted? Our next report gets you the details.
Pentecost is a Christian holiday that is celebrated on the 50th day after Easter Sunday. So, on the 5th of June, the St. Francis Catholic Church in Owo town was packed with worshippers. The shooting started when the Mass was underway. According to eyewitnesses, about 5 gunmen had disguised themselves as congregants and had positioned themselves around the church premises and began firing at people from different directions. Francis Obi was inside the church when the attack happened.
When the church is going on, all of a sudden, when the Mass is about to end, we had a 2 gunshot near this side. So everybody began to run. So what everybody's wondering, what is happening? The things start, then everybody began to run.
The carnage was horrific. The blood-splattered walls of the church give us an idea of what must have transpired inside. Nigeria has witnessed an upsurge in violence in recent months. But what makes this attack unusual is the place where it has taken place. The Ondo state in southwestern Nigeria, despite the turbulence sweeping across the country, hadn't witnessed any major incident of violence until now. But things could change from here on, and that is what has got people very worried. President Muhammadu Buhari is in the final year of his two-term presidency. He has faced a lot of flack for not being able to improve the security situation in the country. Buhari's deputy, Yemi Osinbajo, visited the St. Francis Church a day after the massacre.
As you know, the president has already ordered a full-scale investigation of these crimes, and I assure you that without any doubt, those who perpetrated this will be found, they'll be fished out, and they will pay for the consequences of this heinous crime.
Nigeria is a vast and complex nation. The population is almost evenly divided between Muslims and Christians. In the northern part of the country, where Muslims are in the majority, Nigeria has been battling a deadly Islamist insurgency by the dreaded Boko Haram terror group. Nigeria has also been notorious for clashes between farmers and nomadic cattle herders. Disputes often break out over use of land, water, and grazing routes. And lastly, Nigeria in recent years has witnessed a spate of kidnappings for ransom. Often it is young children at school who are targeted, and this has begun to happen pretty much across the whole of Nigeria. An investigation is underway to track down the perpetrators of the Pentecost massacre. The police say they have a few leads, but have so far not revealed any details of possible suspects. But for the people in the town of Owo, life will never be the same again. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
One of the lesser reported aspects of the Ukrainian war is the role of mercenaries. It is difficult to accurately ascertain the number of mercenaries who have been employed both by Russia and Ukraine. Estimates vary, and neither side has openly spoken about how the mercenaries have been deployed. But from the data that is beginning to trickle out from the battlefields, it is being said that most mercenaries drawn from different regions have been fed into this war as cannon fodder. They're often ill-equipped and not adequately trained for battle. Moscow has been accused of luring mercenaries from Syria, Libya and elsewhere. According to estimates, at least about 20,000 mercenaries have been fielded by Russia in eastern Ukraine. But in the most high-profile capture of mercenaries so far, 2 Britons and a Moroccan who were captured while fighting for Ukraine have now been sentenced to death by a court in the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic. Britain's Aidan Aslin and Sean Pinner and Moroccan Brahim Saudon were declared guilty of mercenary activities and committing actions aimed at seizing power and overthrowing the constitutional order of the Donetsk province. Their lawyers have said that they will appeal against this verdict. Britain has expressed serious concerns. The prisoners of war should not be exploited for political reasons, but this is precisely what is happening. The 2 Britons in this case were captured in April during the siege of Mariupol, while the Moroccan Saudon had surrendered in the month of March. During the proceedings, the 3 men were held in a cage with black bars and wearing armbands with a pro-war Z logo before being asked to stand while the verdict was read out to them. The hasty trial was held largely behind closed doors, with information on the proceedings being handed out only to state-owned Russian media. Ukraine too has put a captured Russian soldier on trial, accusing him of war crimes. In the month of March, the release of Ivan Fedorov, the mayor of Melitopol, in exchange for 9 captured Russian soldiers, had made international headlines. Ukraine and Russia throughout this war have negotiated prisoner exchanges, but the same rules of swapping prisoners of war may not be extended to mercenaries. War changes every aspect of life as we know it. Till Russia invaded into Ukraine, the port city of Odessa was a tourist magnet, a wonderful seaside holiday destination, and people flocked to the white sand beaches of the Black Sea resort to sunbathe and to have a good time in general. But today these beaches are empty. Ukraine has littered these beaches with mines like these, and it has done so to prevent a Russian amphibious assault. The city residents live in fear of an uncertain future. Summer is the best time to visit Odessa, but this summer has been a long and a hard one for people in Ukraine. I'm your host, Mohammed Saleh. Thanks for watching.